Mortal Kombat 6, Deception. This game is available on PlayStation 2, PSP, original Xbox, and GameCube. There's two different versions of the game. There's Mortal Kombat Deception, which is on the PlayStation 2. The Unchained, which is basically the complete edition, is on PSP and GameCube. Now, there were 8 characters that were newly introduced in this game. Those 8 characters would be Havoc, Shujinko, Hotaru, Ashura, Dairu, Cobra, Darius, and Kira. Now, of course, you had a lot of your original characters in there. Your Liu Kang, Sub-Zero, Scorpion. You had some characters from some of the older games like Mortal Kombat 2 and 3. You had Melina. You had Jade, Kenshi, who was in Deadly Alliance. I mean, so those people were there. Now, there were some of your beloved characters were not in this game due to the fact that they were killed in the previous game, Mortal Kombat 5 Deadly Alliance. The characters that died in there were Kung Lao, who was killed by Shang Tsung, Kitana, who was killed by Quan Chi, and then you had Jax, Johnny, and Sonya that were killed by Baraka's army of Tarkatan Ward. My true Mortal Kombat fans know what I'm talking about because you've played the game and you've watched the cutscenes and you've seen the story. Now, oddly enough, Jax and Kitana were not playable in the Deception version, but they were playable in the Unchained version, which you can get on GameCube or PSP. The GameCube and PSP versions, Unchained, also included Shao Kahn, Goro, Blaze, and Frost as playable characters. Now, Shujinko is the game's protagonist, so the story focuses on him and his adventure and how he became the skilled fighter that he is. Almost half the characters that you see throughout the franchise, I mean, he's trained with them and he learned all their combat styles and special moves and whatnot. The game's antagonist is Onaga the Dragon King, his name was first mentioned in the 5th game, but this game, actually, we saw it, this is his first appearance. So he was the boss character in that game, and he was not playable. Now, let's look at some of the reviews on the game. The average reviews amongst the Google audience was 92%. IGN gave it an 88%. Metacritic gave it 81. 1UP gave it a B+ on a scale of F to A+. GameSpot gave it an 85. GameZone gave it an 87. GameSpy only gave it a 50. That's disappointing. But in great comparison, Team Xbox gave it a 91. So overall, the game did pretty well. And I thought, as I said, I thought it was a pretty good game. Here's what one person said on here. Now, on the 5 stars, this game is awesome. I used to play this game for hours on end and just got back into it. The mini games in the game, which are chess combat and puzzle combat, are pretty great, and so is the option to spend the coins you earn in fights. Chess combat or puzzle combat in the crypt. And the crypt is really cool because you can buy concept art, more coins, etc., etc. So yeah, this was also the first game that actually introduced that type of... they did have some mini games in Deadly Alliance, but this one right here was the first one that introduced puzzle combat, which I didn't play that much in there. I mean, I know some people enjoyed it. They also had the chess combat, which was kind of enjoyable. I had played that sometimes. Another one on here says, in this case, nostalgia is good. Old Mortal Kombat characters return and stage fatalities return. Yes, and the reason why they're saying that is because for some reason there weren't stage fatalities in Deadly Alliance. That was the first game that didn't have that. I don't know why that was. Now, they did have the regular fatalities, which every Mortal Kombat game does. But they weren't the stage fatalities, which means that they weren't death traps. You couldn't knock somebody over the edge or, get them caught in one of the traps. This game didn't have that for some reason, and I have yet to see an explanation for why that was. It was a great game nevertheless. This one right here says, Conquest does have some... Conquest in this game is an RPG-like adventure with the main character named Shujinko. Conquest does have some terrible voice acting in spots, but not everyone is bad. In retrospect, I did kind of realize that some of the voicing in there was just kind of... It was a little bit silly and ridiculous, but, it didn't really have much to do with the story. Midway, which is the company that made the game, has got the right idea with Conquest. It just needs to be fleshed out more. Shujinko's controls are slightly stiff when it comes to moving. Most of the stories are good when you beat arcade mode. There's a couple that disappoint. There's also a new addition to the MK series, which is Harakiris. It's suicide, basically. Most of the Harakiris range from cool to bland. That's true there. Some of them make sense and others don't. All the characters have their own voices, which is great and adds more depth to the game, in my opinion. The fighting feels more updated and not so clunky like in Deadly Alliance. That's true, because Deadly Alliance was a bit choppy. I think I did state this in another video. I think they need to kind of reboot Deadly Alliance, give it new animation, new graphics, and make it not as choppy, because it was kind of messed up, but the story was still great. There are multi-tiered levels now. There are 2 fatalities instead of 1, like in Deadly Alliance. Overall, a major improvement over Deadly Alliance. Yeah, so in most of the Mortal Kombat games, each of the characters are given a fatality. Most of them are given actually more than 1 fatality. Now, Deadly Alliance was the only one where each character had only 1 Deadly Alliance, each of the characters had 1 fatality, whereas in this game, each of them had 2 fatalities. So that was definitely a major, like this person just said, that was a major improvement. So overall, I say that the game, and me personally, on a scale of 1 to 10, I would give the game about an 8. So, and I think that the opening scene, the intro scene, which was about 4 or 5 minutes long, I think it was really great. Basically, after Shang Tsung and Quan Chi killed Liu Kang, Raiden had led his team of 5 people to go combat them, which was Kung Lao, Kitana, Jax, Johnny, Sonya. Those 5 ended up getting killed in the battle, but then Raiden was left to battle the 2, and it was a really epic fight. So I'm not going to spoil it all, but I will put it in the comment section below. Go ahead and check that out. Anybody who's a true Mortal Kombat fan, recommend it to others who might like the game. It's available on PlayStation 2, PSP, original Xbox, GameCube. I think it's a good game. Check it out.